Okay, so get this. You sent over this really cool document about a D&D supplement, Bone Crunch Symphony, was it?
Bone Crunch Symphony, yeah, that's the one.
And wow, just wow. Let me tell you, this got me really pumped up. Swords and sorcery, that's all well and good, but this is next level. This deep dive, we're talking turning barehanded combat into an art form. Fighting styles, backgrounds, a whole philosophy. It's mind-blowing. I'm already thinking this is going to completely change how I approach brawling in D&D. What was your first reaction when you were reading this?
You know what really struck me? It's not just about, like, adding new punches or whatever.
Yeah.
It creates this whole philosophy around unarmed combat, and they do it through this fictional race, the Arten.
The Arten. Okay, tell me more. I'm intrigued.
They're all about finding the rhythm and flow within the fight, like turning a brawl into a symphony of, well, bone-crunching beauty, I guess you'd say.
A symphony of bone-crunching beauty, huh? That's quite a picture. But how does that actually play out in the game?
Well, imagine this. You're not just rolling dice to hit. You're looking for that perfect opening, that flow of movement, to unleash a truly devastating strike. The Arten have this saying, the body is an instrument, and pain is the music.
Wow, okay. That's pretty hardcore. It's like they've taken combat and turned it into a form of meditation, almost a spiritual practice.
Exactly. It's not just about being strong, it's about discipline and mental focus as well.
Yeah.
And that idea influences everything in this supplement, from the new Mauler class to the expanded rules on grappling and even dirty fighting.
Hold on. Did you say a Mauler class? Okay, you had me at Bone Crunching Beauty, but tell me more about this Mauler class.
So this is for anyone who's ever wanted to create a character who's a true master of unarmed combat. And listen to this. It's not some barbarian just wildly swinging. The Mauler is all about strategy, precision, really using their body as a weapon.
Okay, so what kind of stuff can they do that's so special?
Well, for starters, they have this ability called Iron Fists.
Iron Fist, go on.
Which essentially lets them bypass an enemy's damage resistance. It's like turning their fists into weapons that are just as strong or even stronger than an enchanted sword.
Wait, so you're telling me I can finally play that monk character, the one who wants to punch a dragon, and it'll actually do something besides tickle it? That's amazing.
That's the idea. And it's not just about raw power either. The Mauler has all these different specializations you can choose from. So, for example, you could be a grappling expert.
Grappling expert, nice.
Right. And that focuses on locks and throws, submissions, that kind of thing. Or you could go the lightning fists route, which is all about speed and agility, striking multiple times with, like, blinding speed.
So you choose your own fighting style, like a martial arts master. Do you get special moves and combos too, or is it more open to, like, interpretation?
That's one of the things I really love about this supplement. It lays out a really solid framework for you, but it leaves so much room for your own creativity and customization. So you have all these new feats, for instance, that are specifically designed for unarmed combat. And anyone can take them, not just Maulers.
Feats. Okay, for those of us who might be new to D&D, can you explain what those are?
Yeah, of course. Feats are basically special abilities or talents that your character can learn. They let them become, even more badass. And Bone Crunch Symphony introduces some really interesting ones. You've got like Bone Crusher, which gives you extra damage, or Concussion Maker, which lets you stun your opponents with a well-placed headbutt.
Did you say headbutt? I like where this is going.
Right. And it even has Ghost Puncher, which, you guessed it, lets you punch ghosts.
Okay, that's just awesome. Ghost Puncher. I can't even tell you how many times that would have come in handy in my past campaigns. So we've got feats, but you were saying there's even more customization.
Exactly. So it's not just about what feats you pick, it's how you combine those with the supplement's new fighting styles. Remember how we were talking about the Arten and their whole philosophy of rhythm and flow? This is where it really comes into play. The supplement introduces these really cool styles like Iron Mountain style, which is all about unwavering defense, Swift River technique, which is about, blinding speed, agility, and then there's the Crushing Avalanche method.
Crushing Avalanche? That sounds intense.
It's all about those powerful, earth-shattering blows.
Wow. Okay, so instead of just picking one fighting style and kind of being stuck with it, you can actually take these different techniques and combine them.
Exactly.
That's really cool. So I could have a character who's a master of both defense and offense, like a martial arts Bruce Lee.
Precisely. And it goes beyond just mixing and matching, the established styles. The supplement actually encourages you to develop your own unique fighting style by taking elements from different places, different things that inspire you. You can even work with your dungeon master to create something completely original, something specific to your character, your backstory, like a fighting style based on animal movements, or even one that, like, uses the environment in unexpected ways. It's really about finding what fits, what feels right.
That's what I love about D&D. It's a game that always wants you to be more creative, to think outside the box. This is already so much more than just a bunch of new rules. It's a whole new way to think about how we approach combat.
Exactly. It's about making your character feel distinct, memorable even. And speaking of distinct, that's one of the things I really liked about the backgrounds they've included in this. They're not just, cookie-cutter templates. They really add to the story. You're right about that. These backgrounds, they add so much depth to the world. Like, take the disgraced noble, for instance.
Okay, disgraced noble. I like the sound of that already. Tell me more.
It's not your typical story of someone born into wealth and privilege who just happens to be good at fighting. No, these guys, they've lost everything. They've had to claw their way back up from the bottom, using nothing but their bare hands.
Oh, I see. So it's less about being born with a silver spoon and more about having that spoon ripped away and then learning to fight back.
Exactly. You can practically feel the grit in their backstory.
That's what I'm talking about. You're not just a fighter. You're a fallen noble, stripped of your title, your wealth, everything. There's a story there.
Right. And then you've got the pit fighter background.
Pit fighter. Now those guys sound like they've seen some stuff.
Oh, you better believe it. They've spent years, maybe even decades, battling in these illegal fighting rings. We're talking about facing down monstrous creatures, cutthroat opponents, all for a chance at a better life.
Talk about a character with experience and stories. You know they've got stories. I'm loving how the supplement isn't just about throwing new mechanics at you. It's about giving you those tools to tell cool and compelling stories. Speaking of stories, this document talked about some pretty fascinating locations, too, like that fighting arena, the House of Pain. What was it like reading about that for the first time?
The House of Pain is where the world building in this supplement goes full throttle. It's gritty, it's visceral, you can practically hear the roar of the crowd and smell the sweat and blood in the air.
Okay, paint me a picture. What am I seeing?
Imagine this, a multi-leveled arena. Crowds are going wild, fortunes being won and lost on a single punch. And then there's this place called the Whisper Gallery.
The Whisper Gallery. Sounds ominous. What goes on there?
That's where you'll find the blind bookie, Whisper. They say he can predict the outcome of every match before it even begins.
Hold on, a blind bookie. How's that even possible? Does he use, like, echolocation or something?
That's the thing. No one knows for sure if Whisper's actually blind or just incredibly perceptive. Some people say he's got ties to the criminal underworld. Others believe he has some kind of, precognitive ability.
Okay, that's a little creepy. I have to admit, that's a really cool detail. But there was another location mentioned that really caught my eye. Something about an onyx shard. What is that all about?
Now we're getting to the really good stuff. So the onyx shard, picture this, a pocket dimension. It's a completely separate reality, but here's the kicker. It's entirely dedicated to combat.
Whoa, a whole dimension just for fighting. Sign me up.
Right. And it's ruled by this enigmatic figure known as Lady Zailorea. She's got a certain, shall we say, flair for the dramatic.
Flair for the dramatic. You've got my attention. Tell me everything.
Okay, so you get pulled into this pocket dimension. It's like a city-sized arena, and it's constantly shifting, changing, warping based on Lady Rhea's whims.
Okay, this is blowing my mind already.
1 minute you're fighting on a crumbling glacier, the next you're facing down a fire elemental in a pit of lava.
This is insane. It's like something out of those fantasy fighting video games.
And get this, fighters from across the multiverse are pulled into the Onyx Shard. Legendary heroes, cunning rogues, even creatures from beyond the material plane. They're all drawn to this place.
Okay, so we're talking about the ultimate fighting tournament. But what's at stake? What are they fighting for?
That's a good question. It could be glory, fortune, maybe even just the thrill of testing their skills against the very best. The document leaves it open to interpretation. Your guess is as good as mine.
So how would my party get involved in something like this?
Well, you could stumble upon a hidden portal, a shimmering gateway to another world. Or maybe you cross paths with one of Lady Rhea's servants, these mysterious beings of shadow and magic who whisk you away to the Onyx Shard.
That's incredible. Talk about being thrown in at the deep end. I have to ask, what about Lady Rhea herself? What's her deal? Is she just a big fan of watching people beat each other up?
There's definitely more to her than meets the eye. Some say she's a fallen celestial, stripped of her power and trying to regain her lost glory through these epic fights. Others believe she's some kind of ancient sorceress who like feeds off of the energy of these battles.
Ooh, a mysterious and powerful being with a penchant for violence and spectacle. Sounds like someone I wouldn't want to cross. But I do love how they leave her true motives a mystery. It's like a blank slate for the dungeon master to play with.
I know, right? And as if a whole pocket dimension dedicated to fighting wasn't cool enough, this supplement gives us another really awesome location, the Boneyard.
The Boneyard. Okay, yeah, that name definitely has some weight to it.
Right. So the Boneyard is Threlin Careel's own creation. It's a haven for those who want to dedicate themselves to mastering unarmed combat. Picture a sprawling complex nestled in this secluded mountain valley. Part training ground, part monastery, part, you guessed it, fighting arena.
So it's like a martial arts dojo crossed with a warrior's retreat. What kind of training are we talking about here?
You name it, they've got it. There's the Hall of 1,000 Fists, where you can spar against these magically animated training dummies that can mimic any fighting style imaginable.
Okay, that's just cool. What else?
And then there's the Stone Garden.
The Stone Garden! Sounds intriguing.
This is where you go to hone your strength and endurance. It's this treacherous obstacle course with, you guessed it, heavy stones everywhere. You have to navigate this while pushing your body to the limit.
Heavy stones, brutal training. You know I'm here for it.
Right. And of course, it wouldn't be a proper training ground without a proper arena. Am I right?
Of course not. What's this one like?
So the Boneyard's arena, get this, it's called the Symphony of Steel.
Symphony of Steel. I love it. It sounds pretty intense, but also like there's this underlying sense of respect, of camaraderie among the fighters. Like it's more than just a blood sport.
You hit the nail on the head. It's a place for fighters from all walks of life, all skill levels, to come together to learn from each other, push each other to be better. But it's not all blood, sweat, and broken bones at the Boneyard.
Oh. Tell me more. I'm really curious now.
After a long day of, punching things, fighters can gather at a place called Honey's Hearth.
Honey's Hearth. That sounds lovely. Tell me there's a roaring fire and good food.
Ooh, you better believe it. It's this warm, inviting tavern run by, get this, Norsey Careel.
Wait, as in Threlin Careel's wife?
The one and only. Everyone knows her as Honey. She's known for her incredible cooking. She's a shrewd businesswoman. But most importantly, she's like this pillar of strength for this community of warriors.
Okay, now that's a character I need to meet.
Right. I feel like she's got stories for days, probably a few side quests up her sleeve too, for when the party needs a good meal, a place to rest, and maybe some sage advice. This is what blows me away about this supplement. We've got these fantastical arenas, secret fighting techniques, mysterious leaders, but then it grounds everything with these really relatable details, like a home-cooked meal at the end of a long day. It's incredible.
It really is. It's more than just a fighting manual. It's a whole world just waiting to be explored. And it sounds like we've barely scratched the surface. This document is jam-packed with really cool characters, too. I mean, we could spend a whole other episode just talking about them. It's like you said, more than just a fighting manual. It's a whole world they've created. Who else do we run into in this world of bare-knuckle brawling?
Well, we've got Silk Samantha Devereaux. She's like this, how do I describe her?
Lay it on me.
Okay, imagine a cross between a shrewd businesswoman and like a flamboyant ringmaster.
Mm-hmm.
Always on the lookout for the next big fight, always ready to make a spectacle. That's Silk Samantha Devereaux.
So she's the one to go to if you want to make a name for yourself in the fighting pits, right? Get your name out there.
Oh, absolutely. But be careful. She's got an knack for spotting talent, but she's also known for being pretty ruthless. Like, she might offer you a shot at glory, but it's going to come with strings attached.
Oh, I like her already. Sounds like she could be a valuable ally. Or a dangerous enemy. Anyone else jump out at you?
Yeah, there's this half-orc manager, Grok the Wallet Painfist. I mean, the name alone, right?
Grok the Wallet. That's fantastic. I bet he's seen some stuff.
You better believe it. He's always on the hunt for the next champion, always wheeling and dealing, even if it means, bending the rules a little or maybe a lot. He's one of those characters you just know has some stories.
It's true. Every character we've talked about could easily be a quest giver, maybe offer some information, or even become a rival. It's amazing how well developed they are.
Totally. It makes the world feel so real, so lived in.
And it's one thing to build a world with cool places and interesting people, but it's another thing entirely to bring those characters to life in the game right now. Does the document talk about actually role-playing an unarmed fighter? Like how to make it feel real at the table?
Absolutely. And they make a great point. A really memorable fighter is so much more than just their stats and what weapons they use or, well, in this case, don't use. It encourages you to think about your character's fighting style. Like, what are their mannerisms? What's the sound of their fists hitting an opponent? How do they move?
Yeah, it's like we were saying earlier, it's about painting that picture with your words, your actions, really getting into character.
Exactly. And they even offer some examples, like maybe your character has a certain catchphrase they shout during combat, or maybe they have a whole ritual they go through before even stepping into the ring. It's about those little details, those personal touches that really bring them to life.
It's thinking beyond just the mechanics of combat and instead embodying the character. I love that.
And one of the coolest things they talk about, mastering your body is just as important as mastering any technique.
Okay, I'm listening. Break it down for me.
They want you to really consider your character's physicality, how they train, how they recover from injuries. They even suggest working with your DM to create training montages during downtime.
Training montages? Wait, like in a movie?
Yeah. Imagine spending your downtime in-game, honing your skills, pushing yourself to the limit, and you can role-play it out, describe the exercises, the challenges, the triumphs.
That is such a fantastic idea. I can already picture it now. The music swelling as my character practices those devastating combos in a secluded mountaintop dojo.
See? It's about making that journey, even something like training, into part of the story. And that's what makes this supplement so great. It's full of these really innovative ideas that can transform how you experience the game.
It's been amazing. We've gone from these bone-crunching fighting techniques to training montages to shadowy fight clubs and even interdimensional fighting tournaments. Talk about a wild ride. What a deep dive. Crunch Symphony really does deliver on its promise to add a fresh perspective to unarmed combat in D&D.
It really does. And I think what resonates with me most is that final thought the author leaves us with. What if the true power lies not in the weapon you wield, but in the mastery of your own body and spirit?
It's true. That's a message that resonates far beyond just a game of dice and dragons, you know? It reminds us that sometimes the greatest strength comes from within. About perseverance, pushing yourself beyond your limits. It's inspiring.
I couldn't agree more.
So for anyone listening who has ever wanted to play a character who stares down danger with nothing but their bare hands and their wits, this is the deep dive for you. Crunch Symphony gives you a path to explore that power fantasy and tells you, yeah, you can punch a ghost and you can make it look awesome. It's all about embracing the art of combat, pushing yourself to the limit, testing your skills, and discovering that true strength comes from within. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me. Until next time.